God is not a Christian. No, God is not a Christian. God is too big to be contained in human-made religion. God is not a Muslim. God is not a Hindu. God is not a Buddhist. Do you know that Christianity was used to justify slavery? Do you know that in the book of Ephesians, in Paul's letter to the Ephesians, he tells people to obey their earthly masters, even the harsh ones? Do you know that the Dutch Reformed Church, on the basis of which apartheid in South Africa was founded, was based on Christianity? Do you know that the Bible has been abused and misused? So, when we talk about the Bible, when we talk about Christianity, you are talking about a man-made thing. That is why we have the Roman Catholic man-made. That is why we have the Anglican man-made to allow King Henry VIII to marry. They are going to have a schism in the church sooner rather than later because of LGBTQ. Man-made. That is why we have SDA, man-made. That is why we have Presbyterian, man-made. That is why we have Methodist, man-made. Tell me which denomination Jesus belonged to. None.
This video is to make you understand that any pastor or imam that is telling you that God is a Christian or a Muslim is simply lying to you. This will expose a lot of secrets. Let's watch together.
But I'm in the business of reminding all of us that the prayer breakfast can become an annual ritual without more. Don't make it an annual ritual where we come to say with our mouths what we do not believe in our hearts. There must be a wedding between the words of our mouths and our deeds. That is what character is all about. And I also want to remind this audience, as the good book says, we must, in the nature of things, be Christians of Berea. If you read the Acts of the Apostles, Paul says that he liked the Christians of Berea because whenever the word had been preached, they went out and read the word to confirm if what had been preached was true. And I also want you to go and read. We are talking about character and the followership. Throughout the ages, men and women have followed evil men. And these are those days that we must warn ourselves. I am encouraging you, if you are a Christian of Berea, go and fact check what I'm saying. And you can even fact check it as I'm speaking. Read the book of Matthew, chapter 24, verse 24. In the end days there shall come many Christs, and they shall work wonders, and they shall mislead even the very elect, if it were possible. So we must warn ourselves as people who believe in God. We must warn ourselves as Christians in the knowledge, as Paul writes in his second letter to Timothy, chapter 3, that there shall become a form of Christianity where we shall be lovers of ourselves, where we shall be boastful, where we shall have people confusing people, just as Jannes and Jambres confused the multitude. But we are one to do the right thing. And I'm also telling you that the same Bible tells us that you cannot pretend to be lovers of God whom you have not seen if you do not love your brothers and sisters whom you see. You know, when we talk about character, we are talking about serious business. When we talk about prayers, we are talking about serious business. When my good friend Godfrey was asking people to pray, I'm making some of you uncomfortable, and that is my intention. When he was asking people to pray, he asked several people to pray, and everybody came. And I was asking myself, why must 5 people pray? Why can't it be one? Why? They all said the same thing. Why can't one person pray? 3 members of parliament had to pray. Why? Is God deaf? Must we repeat things to God? Are we like the latter-day Pharisees who pray that men may listen to us? Let us not use prayer breakfast to mock God. Let us use prayer breakfast to say that which is right and to speak the truth to all of us. I'm saying all these because we must say it, because we must not shy away from the truth. You know, before I turn to my subject for 5 minutes, when Christ himself is asked, teach us how to pray, he prays in less than a minute. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Full stop, just pray. All these things that we are in the business of asking, God knows before you ask. If he can number the hair on your head, if he knows your thoughts before you say them, don't be like Pharisees. Let us warn ourselves, and let us remind ourselves, as I said yesterday, prayer without action is superstition. We must act. We must do the right thing. Then I've been asked in the context of character to say why Africa is attractive throughout the ages. Africa has always been attractive. It was attractive to the Greeks. They came here and they created their philosophy. Then they called it Greek philosophy. The Romans were here. Christ himself, in the days of adversity, came here. Muhammad, the founder of Islam, was here. The Chinese were here. The Arabs were here. The Portuguese were here. The Spaniards were here. The Dutch were here. The Danes were here. The English were here. The French were here. The Germans were here. This is the mother continent, it's the cradle of humanity. And whenever they have come here with religion, which they have manipulated. And I want to submit and agree with Desmond Mpilo Tutu that God is not a Christian. No, God is not a Christian. God is too big to be contained in human-made religion. God is not a Muslim. God is not a Hindu. God is not a Buddhist. I remember at one time in the dramatization of the life of Mahatma Gandhi by Richard Attenborough, he was asked, are you a Hindu? He said, no. When I was young in Gujarat, I remember attending a temple where the preacher on that day referred to the Christian Bible, referred to the Hindu Gita, and referred to the Muslim Quran, referring from one book to the other, as if it did not matter which book was being read as long as God was being worshipped. And I believe that that is the God that we are worshipping. We who are Christians must always remember that in fact the very days when we were called Christians, being a Christian was not meant to be a good thing. A Christian, these Christian followers of Christ, it was meant to be a derogatory term. And sometimes we who are Christians, we who claim to follow the Christ, we are arrogant and intolerant, and for our arrogance and our intolerance we will be punished. There is a message, those of you who are readers of the works of God, in the Talmud of the Torah, there is a story told that when the Israelites had been drowned, or rather when the host of the Pharaohs had been drowned in pursuit of Israel, and the Israelites were laughing and celebrating, it is said God appeared unto them and said, why do you celebrate when my children have been drowned? That is the God whom we do not understand. But remember, I was talking about why Africa is attractive. It is attractive because it is the cradle of humanity. And remember, I was saying and talking about Christianity and the manner in which it was midwife to us. So when we have all these denominations coming here and the manipulators in order to steal our land, Africa is attractive initially because of us. We were commodities to be sold when they first came here. And you will be surprised that those who gave the authority was the Roman Catholic Pope. The initial exploration of the world in the 14th, 15th century to Christopher Columbus and Vasco da Gama, they had a papal bull to survey the whole world, to come and discover us.